If you like rum, you love the Caribbean, and that's what we're talking about today. The drink that's official and sometimes mostly unofficial in the islands of paradise. This is the VacayNetwork Travel Podcast, sponsored by the travel trivia app called Trippzy. I'm Adrian Brijbassi, and joining me is co-host Jim Byers. Jim, I'm guessing it's afternoon, so you have a drink in your hand, probably with some form of rum in it.
Well, you know, it's funny you would mention that, Adrian. My wife and I were in Arizona last week, and in the hotel we were at, Hotel Valley Ho, they had a Trader Vic's tiki bar cookbook or recipe book. And if you know me, you know I'm a big Hawaii tiki kind of guy. So we snapped that one up, and we didn't steal it from the hotel. It's not like stealing bathrobes. We actually ordered it online, very legit, through Amazon. It arrived a couple days ago, and I'm already going through the list, finding all sorts of great Caribbean rum drinks to mix. It's going to be awesome.
And the thing with rum that I don't know if a lot of people in Canada and the U.S. and even Europe know is that it can age as well, and in my opinion, better than a lot of the scotches, simply because the sweetness kind of takes off a lot of the kind of bitterness and the burn of drinks like scotch and rye. And rum is wonderful on its own and wonderful as an old-fashioned or a similar drink, as you've probably discovered yourself.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's great. I mean, I discovered, we started drinking regular old fashions when Mad Men came on, and that's great. But, you know, bourbon can be a little bit harder to find in Canada, and rum is plentiful. And you mix a nice aged rum. It doesn't have to be one of the 20-year-olds. You can mix a nice, 6, 8, 10-year-old rum for an old fashioned, and it's absolutely fantastic. You know, you can take a white rum and mix it with fruit juice if you just want something simple. In Jamaica, they love to do it with a spritzy kind of a grapefruit drink called ting. That's really quite good. It's a very versatile drink, and you get a really nice Mount Gay aged rum, the XO or one of those, and it's aged 12, 14, 15 years. And yeah, it takes on all of those really, really nice caramel and spice kind of flavors, vanilla, and on its own, maybe an ice cube. It's absolutely a fantastic drink, and it's great summer with the lighter rums, and it's great in the winter with the darker rums.
Right, and in Scotland, obviously, with Scotch, has built a large tourism industry around that potable, and some Caribbean islands have succeeded in doing the same. Some are trying to do more and more of it. You mentioned Mount Gay, which is in Barbados, and you visited that operation as well as others, right?
Oh yeah, that one's terrific. It's great. I mean, it's the oldest rum distillery in the world. It dates back to 1703, if I'm not mistaken. The first batches were a little bit rough, shall we say. We had a tour with a really nice young guy there, and he said the first couple ones they nicknamed Demon Water and Killer Devil, which is great if you're a pirate, but it didn't sell.
Or a university student.
Apparently, they brought in a distilling expert, John Gay. John Gay was brought in to help with the rum, and the owner, his name was, believe it or not, was John Sober.
Wow, you can't make that up.
I'm not making this up. He was the owner of the first rum distillery, and John Sober brought in John Gay to improve the product. Then they named it in his honor. So you can do the rum tasting in Bridgetown. It's a great facility. Really nice little low-rise spot with the little gardens, and obviously you can buy the rum, but you can taste it. You do a little flight. You taste the new rum, the middle-aged rum, the older rums, so you get a flavor profile. There's a great description, because when you learn about rum in the West Indies, the Caribbean, Adrian, as you know, you're really learning about the history of the island. And you're learning about the geography. You're learning about what plants grew. Obviously, sugarcane being the main one for rum making, and you learn about slavery. Unfortunately, it's a side part of the deal. Back in the day, that slaves were brought in to work at some of the plantations and to cut the sugarcane. So you're getting a history lesson, a cultural lesson, and a very tasty treat all at the same time.
Yeah, and the culture is so deeply rooted in some of these islands with rum. I was at Trinidad and Tobago, toured Angosturas distillery. Folks probably know Angostura Angostura as the bitters company. They make the largest bitters making company in the world, but they're also a wonderful rum manufacturer, and their rum is really tied to the carnival in Trinidad, which is the largest carnival in the Caribbean. And when you tour their distillery, very similar. You learn about their history, you learn about the culture, how the slaves used rum to celebrate events like Mardi Gras, which is really their carnival. And you also learn how they've adapted over the years and using different techniques. They use a lot of them use wine barrels now to age the rum, which really gives a wonderful flavor and a roundness to the taste. And then you're getting an education on the drink itself, so it becomes it makes it more accessible. But you're also learning that rum isn't just something you do shots of or you throw Coke into. It's actually a really sophisticated drink when it's aged really well.
Absolutely, yeah, it's fantastic.
So let's name a couple of great rum bars in the Caribbean. You've got one in Curacao, I think.
Well, Curacao is great. You got the Netto Bar, home of the green rum, and I'm not going to reveal the secret as to how they turn it green. You can kind of use your imagination, but that's a pretty fun spot and a really great town. I mean, you don't hear a lot about Curacao in terms of the downtown areas, but it's really fun to wander around, and you got the swinging bridge, you've got the green bar, and you go in, and it's really fun. Little locals are having a good time, and they may show you if you give them a nice tip, he'll show you how you do it.
And there's one in British Virgin Islands, which is at the Cooper Island Resort, and it's got not a very inventive name. It's called Rum Bar. And,
okay, well, that's all right.
And they've got over 250 types of rum, some of them very, very rare. And, to me, that would be an ideal way to spend a Friday or Saturday night or maybe an entire weekend.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Well, you've been to some of these islands too, Adrian, and it's one of the things I really love. You drive around some of these islands like Barbados. There's just a million little rum bars all over the place, and you can go in and you can get little bites of food. You can get a beer. You can get rum. They're very casual, very friendly. There's one on every block. Every village has got 2 or 3 places that people just go in and they may play a little dominoes, may play some cards, and the other one I love in Barbados is a place called Cutters. I don't want to give away any trivia, Trippzy answers, but a cutter in Barbados is a sandwich. And at Cutters, which is near the Crane Barbados, a great resort in the southeast corner of Barbados. And Cutters is famous for its flying fish sandwiches, really, really great sandwich. But they're also famous for their rum punch. Usually in Barbados, when you get a rum punch, it's got rum, a little bit of fruit, but not much, some bitters, and some nutmeg sprinkled on top. So it's a really, really nice, smooth drink. I think they've won a couple times one of the best rum punches in the Caribbean, if not the world. And if music fans will enjoy going over in the corner of the shop, and there's pictures and little testimonials, as I recall. I may have had too much rum. It seems to me there was a testimonial, but certainly there was a picture or a little article there about a couple of guys from a band called Rolling Stones. Jagger, and I think maybe Keith Richards.
Oh, I've heard of them.
Yeah, and I think Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin stopped in before. Because it's a really nice resort, and you wander down the beach and up a little set of stairs to around the corner, and there's Cutter's Bar. So you get a great fish sandwich and a rum punch. It's about the best lunch you can imagine.
Right, and a lot of rock and roll history too. And you mentioned Trippzy. Trippzy is our sponsor. It's a travel trivia app that you can download and play for free. And as you play, you're answering questions about wonderful Caribbean islands and winning rewards to go visit those islands. So we encourage you to check that out. And as part of our promotions of Trippzy and as part of our brand, we've also created a rum cocktail. It's called the Trippzy Cocktail. It includes El Dorado 12-year-old rum. El Dorado is a rum from Guyana, which I think is wonderful. It's my favorite. And it's the drink also includes Taylor Fladgate First Reserve port, ginger beer, some prickly pear syrup, and some dashes of bitters, as well as egg white foam. And I think I'm proud of it. I'm the one who came up with it, and I think, Jim, you've had a couple of those yourself.
I had a couple at our debut event in Toronto where we unveiled Trippzy, and Adrian's being modest. It's actually a really an absolutely tremendous drink. I mean, Adrian's a great travel writer and has been very good about helping with Trippzy, but I think he's missed his true calling. I think we're going to find him on America's Top Bartender show, or Canada's Top Bartender show next time it comes along on the Food Network. It's a crazy good drink. And I got to try to make another one at home one of these days.
I'm very happy to be on the other side of the bar, as you know, Jim.
Yeah, it's probably just as well.
And we're also checking out Vacay Network for wonderful articles on the Caribbean. You can get the Trippzy Cocktail recipe on that site as well as on the Trippzy site. And Jim, just off the top of your head, your favorite rum and your favorite drink that's not the Trippzy Cocktail?
Favorite drink that's not the Trippzy Cocktail would probably be a rum punch if it's done the way they do them in Barbados. I don't really like the sweet cruise ship kind of drinks or the stuff you get in New Orleans at Mardi Gras. I find those to be a little sweet, so I like mine with a little bit of lime juice, some bitters, not too much, maybe a little simple syrup or a tiny bit of fruit juice, but kind of let the rum flavors shine through. I do love the Mount Gay aged rum. I think it's XO. That's one of my favorites. And I'm also pretty fond of Chairman's Reserve from St. Lucia.
Great. I would recommend, I'm a big fan of Dark and Stormies. That's my go-to. That's what Gosling's rum from Bermuda. But for our listeners in Toronto, and we know we have quite a few, I just had a rum Sazerac at the St. Regis Hotel on the 31st floor. Wonderful drink. Really classic New Orleans style, but done with rum, which was really great.
That's a great bar, by the way. If you're in Toronto, that St. Regis bar does an absolutely fantastic job. And I think that's the same one that I had. I think I looked at that. And I said to the bartender, "Tell me something that you really like to make." And she said, "I love this rum Sazerac." It was incredible. Yeah. That is a great bar and a great drink.
And cheers to everyone who's been listening. And we will be back again, talking more Caribbean, more culture, more drinks. This is Adrian Brijbassi with Jim Byers for the VacayNetwork Travel Podcast, sponsored by Trippzy. Thanks for listening.